Welcome to The Secret Witch Show, the podcast providing a safe and alchemical altar space of conversations which help powerful women escape a half-hearted, spiritless society and rediscover the freedom of living a wildly magical life. Every other week, we explore how to cast aside the wounds of shame, guilt, and fear connected with fully being yourself, so you can grant yourself permission to stop hiding, ground soulfully back into your body, illuminate your whole soul desires, tend your soul, rediscover and reclaim your powerful gifts, express your magic, and manifest your wildest alchemy. There's no better place to become who your heart longs to be. This is where we will guide you into liberation. I'm your host, Nicole Barton, and I'm so excited to dive in. Welcome, magical ones, and happy new year. I am super excited for 2026. I'm ready to create the vision in my heart for this year. In case you missed it, inside the apothecary, we had a Witches Visioning workshop this month. The replay is inside the Secret Witches Apothecary membership. So if this is your year to heal and discover your gifts, and you want a clear and potent start to 2026, you are so welcome to join and receive the support on the inside. Visit nicolebarton.co.uk/membership. On The Secret Witch Show today, though, our guest is Sara Fakih. Sara's work is an invitation to remember, to come home to the body, to emotion as power, and to the truth that lives beneath survival and self-sabotage. Through trauma-informed somatic practices, body-mind maturation coaching, and movement rooted in yoga and dance, she guides women into deeper embodiment, emotional freedom, and nervous system repair. A freedom explorer and rule breaker at heart, Sara weaves ancient wisdom with modern somatic intelligence, empowering women to reclaim their voice, purpose, and wild feminine essence through womb reconnection, ancestral healing, and embodied remembrance. In this episode, we explore what it really means to truly listen to your body, not as a surface-level somatic trend, but as a courageous descent into the truth that lives beyond survival, suppression, and self-sabotage. Sara shares how the body holds our wild emotions, our ancestral memory, and the younger parts of us that learn to survive through shutdown, people-pleasing, or rebellion. We speak about the paradox of wanting power and being terrified of it, how rage protects heartbreak, why numbness is a sensation worth honouring, and how our patterns of self-sabotage, procrastination, and resignation are invitations into deeper liberation. This conversation is a raw, honest, embodied journey into creating internal safety, meeting your trauma with compassion, and reclaiming the wild feminine power that has always been yours. Let's dive in. Welcome, Sara. Oh my goodness, do I love your work. We do love the wild feminine here. We met at a local yoga studio where I came to your amazing Sambada class. I hope I've just pronounced that right, actually. And I absolutely love them so much that I was like, yes, this woman has to come on The Secret Witch Show. And I know your work is super potent and powerful. And yeah, I was just saying before we pressed record, I often try and work out what remedy people are serving. Yours feels very animalistic. I'm feeling like tigress, but we'll see. There's that kind of animalistic, instinctual kind of body awareness piece, the raw truth. It's fear, emotional release, the wild feminine reclamation, all the juicy stuff. So you're really helping women to reclaim their authentic selves through somatic work in a really unique way as well, is my feeling. So it's all in deep alignment with what we do in The Secret Witch Show. And so I'm excited to have you here. Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm super excited for this. So, as I always start, and I was just explaining, the premise of my kind of healing modality and path is that women's stories are so healing for other people. We're all remedies for each other. So my first invitation, if you would like it, is to share a little bit about your own journey, with particularly listening to your wild feminine body, outgrowing those survival patterns, and reclaiming your true self. Like, what is it that cracked you open to this path?
Oof. I wouldn't say, I know some people have those stories of like one thing that cracked them open. I definitely would say with me, it's been a few.
Yeah. I'm with
Um,
you on that one.
it was never just one like, you know, epiphany or moment. It's been a reminder through my own journey. But I would say that there was a major um point, which was when I felt like I didn't want to be here anymore. And that was of course, you know, a real portal into realizing something needs to shift and change, because that feeling I felt so heavy for a long time, and it was kind of in my later 20s when that happened.
Mm.
So I would say that was the big turning point for seeking something else that I felt that this world wasn't showing me.
Yeah, I love that. It's really interesting because I wrote as part of the vision for this episode, like rawness was one of the words. And I really love that you just straight away gone in there with like, this is me, like this is the rawness, this is the depth. So I love that you brought that there, and I'm loving the younger you in like all of that experience. I'd love to know, like, how did you journey with that experience? What was it that kind of led you to the path that you kind of teach and guide other women through now, I guess?
I think for me, I think it's also really important to speak about this depth of resignation that I think a lot of people don't even want to admit, because I think
Mm,
also there's guilt to
mm,
actually admitting that there is feelings of deep resignation to life.
mm,
And I think when we are very sensitive beings, that we feel there more to this to
mm,
this life, and depending on, of course, the circumstances, the situations that you're born into, your environment, your family, everything has such an effect, and then the society. I think for me, there's been actually such a reclamation, even in sharing my story around this,
mm,
because I feel like sometimes for me personally, as if something super, super massively traumatic had to happen for me to feel that depth of resignation. But
mm,
actually, the more I've gone on this journey and realizing that when we are very in tune, sensitive, very emotional, or in a way feeling either too much and as well sometimes not enough. There's
mm,
that paradox there. Um, we get confused. We get really confused about where we sit in this world, and we go into this world thinking we need to get a job and all of this, and then something just feels off, because it's like we're living in this world we feel just doesn't feel right, doesn't fit. So for me, navigating that it's been such a blessing, because it allowed me to dive into my own journey of seeking why I felt like that, uh,
mm,
and uncovering the layers. Now, obviously, I can say this so much more, but uncovering the layers of what I had actually been suppressing, to why I
mm,
felt such deep, deep resignation to life, and
mm,
where you can actually even go and nearly take your own life. I
mm,
think I want to, you know, I feel really passionate about speaking on this more, because I do think we can fall into that trap. Sometimes we're like, oh, I don't want to be the victim, but I think it's really important to realize that we do live in a world that also, in a way, wants us to be victims, uh,
mm,
but yet we also are, in a way, victims too. So it's this dance to realizing that we have been, but also to use that to empower us to realize, well, no, we are cycle breakers, actually. We are
mm.
breaking these cycles of these ways of being that have kept us conformed and suppressed. And it's in that challenge of feeling that resignation, we're realizing something needs to shift.
Mm. I love that so much, and I appreciate your vulnerability with that. As you're speaking, it's interesting because we've sort of kind of spoken about this kind of animalistic part of your medicine, which I think is very present. But what we're actually speaking to here is kind of like there's a remedy called aurum, which is the queen, but it's also gold in terms of like what actually it is, which very much has this theme of the resignation and can be suicidal and yet also has this almighty power. And I think often secret witches as well have this is that kind of when we have that level of power, we kind of almost end up using it against ourselves. Again, like I'm loving the exploration of victim versus not victim, because there is that kind of paradox of like we're in a world that conditions us to be a victim, but actually we are using our power in a way against ourselves that's having us kind of stuck in this suppression. I don't know if I'm getting across what I'm meaning here very well, but I don't know if there's anything in that you kind of want to speak to.
It's huge, actually, and really feeds into that word reclamation, which has been so strong in my field for the past few years. And it feels very regal at the same time of we are so scared of our power.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that Marianne Williamson poem that she spoke on. We are so scared of our power. It's like it's our accessing into our power, that there's that paradox where we want to access our power, but at the same time, it is a threat to our whole system.
Yeah.
And to access it feels so scary and so damn, we probably have to also be so damn responsible. And when I say responsible, like lovingly responsible for what our power can actually do. And I want to speak on that word power, actually, because I think there's a reclamation even in that word, because everything that we have experienced from that word power has been an inversion. It's a bit like the inversion of the feminine, the inversion of everything that the feminine is. There's that an inversion of the word power where it's been used against us to control, to manipulate, to coerce, from that wounded ego, like from the wounded parts of ourselves. Whereas power is truth for me. It's truth, knowing and sovereignty, but at the same time, it is this threat. It does feel like this threat. So there is a paradox. I think there is a paradox in everything as being a human being, navigating this world. But I think the more that we can see the paradoxes, actually, that can give us so much more power, can give our power back, really. But yes, I have turned on myself in so many instances, and I think so many powerful women resonate with that paradox.
Yeah, I think the feminine is from what I've learned, the feminine as a whole loves paradox. Like, you start down this path, you realize, hang on, we're going to hold this and this. And so I absolutely love how we started. And completely, like, as it somehow it must kind of tie into the theme that we've discussed. But it just felt very important to kind of to weave in there that piece of power, because I think lots of secret witches resonate with that fear of either not being powerful enough or fear of their power being too much, and therefore detonating their entire life. And I guess that's where the safety piece comes in, because for us to kind of embody our power fully, I guess we have to feel safe, right?
And that word, feeling safe, is something that I feel like I'm always diving into. It was actually, I don't think it's a coincidence. I even crossed paths with a beautiful sister the other day, and of course we dived into a real deep conversation, because there's nothing surface in any conversation I had. And that piece actually came up. So it's interesting that that's just come in, because I think, what is safety? And the more I delve into this work, the more I question that sense, that feeling. Have we ever felt safe? And I also think safety is not a place to get to. I think we are speaking about how we can create safety within ourselves, knowing there's no it's not just a place to get to and stay in. We find safety within ourselves, and it really comes down to trusting and knowing what our needs are. And when I even say that, sometimes I feel like words just don't give that level of depth, even because knowing what our needs are is something that I am feeling that's also a reclamation for so many women. Because if you just follow the thread of all of the women before you, I'm probably going to say that none of them felt real safety. And so safety for me is a nervous system that can hold, going back into the paradoxes, hold it all. To be able to hold it all and really honor deeply what it is that we need, and trusting that also we are held and guided by Mother, the earth, like our bodies are the earth, the connection to the earth, great mother, like this trust that can come from within. So yeah, I think our awareness, our consciousness in realizing what states that we are in is actually the most important piece in that safety.
I love that. What I'm hearing that, and tell me if this feels true, is this sense of like in the world we are taught, and I think a secret which is we feel like, well, we've been conditioned that we kind of outsource our safety to outsource it somewhere else. Like once I get here, then I'll be safe. Once I do this, then I'll be safe. And what I'm hearing you say is that almost the true safety is found inside of ourselves in a calm, relaxed nervous system that is able to then respond and meet the challenges of life. I don't know if that feels true.
100%. And I will add in a piece there as well, that we can find that calm and peace, but let's also really notice if we are suppressing anything else to find that calm and peace.
I love that. Yes.
Tap into that wildness again.
Yeah.
And the piece that I see a lot in the spaces that I hold is to be with our wildness feels like a threat too.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, that's so interesting. I'd love you to speak more to that piece. There's that, and there's almost like the opposite of like our suppression also not feeling safe. So what you were just saying there as well is yeah, there's something juicy in that. Because and just to take it back to your experience at the beginning, what I'm hearing is that the reason why you're feeling so much resignation and feeling that kind of suicidal piece is perhaps because of the level of suppression that you were in. I don't know if that's true, but I'm wondering if you can speak more to that in and around that kind of context.
I think when we can all be brought up in very chaotic scenarios from, our caregivers and society, not conscious of their emotions, not conscious of the emotions that are moving through them, and then also feeling everyone around them suppressing their emotions. And we take on the field, as babies, we take on the field, literally the field of our parents' nervous systems. And when they're not consciously aware of the states that they're in, we learn how to, what's not safe, or to literally create safety for us to survive. That's really the crux of it. We learn things in order to survive. And so when our parents and our caregivers' nervous systems are all over the place, and there's projected anger, or there is just chaos everywhere, we learn how to cope. We take on thought forms that will also can be very ancestral, and then we take on these states of our nervous system, which is why sometimes we can end up unconsciously generating the same chaos throughout our lives, through the partners that we choose, even the situations that we choose to be in. There is an unconscious safety in chaos sometimes. I think for me is this suppression of being able to just be free, and in our kind of wildness, I learned how to suppress everything and to be the good girl. to do as I was told, you know, to conform. And then I think after a while, my teenage years was like pure rebellion. So the lid popped, because we can't, that's not it's not in our nature to conform and to be that good girl. It will create so much turmoil within us.
Yeah. That's really reminding me of the archetypal remedy that I teach around this is archetypal she-wolf, because she's kind of like the kind of nurturing wild mother in many ways, that I feel like we have to almost like become for ourselves. But there's that kind of like good girl versus rebel themes as her shadow. And so I love what you pulled out there, because I think so many witches will relate to that, of like, and still even being in that swing, like sometimes being the good girl people pleaser, and other times being like, no, I'm going to rebel now because I've had enough of playing that good girl role. And I think it's something that's so critical in that journey of wild feminine reclamation, particularly as well. Let me just feel, is there anything you want to speak to around? Has that brought anything up, or are you wanting a question?
Like that swing of the pendulum, I have been literally two extremes, like such extremes to both sides. And I think, so even just you mentioning that, I think and as we go through this journey, we swing from pendulum. We go from literally from one side, we have to swing to all the way to the other, to then realize, okay, well, that's, you know, find this kind of, we never stay in the middle, but we find this middle ground where we realize, oh, okay, I can see when I'm people pleasing to keep myself safe. And then I can see where the full rebellion comes out, which is usually fueled by, and I speak on sacred rage, on the rage that comes out, which is always a protection of heartbreak. So it's, I love that you've mentioned the two there.
Yeah. So I guess what I'm wondering is then this kind of liberation of this wildness and the listening to the body and all of that sort of thing tied into safety, because you said something interesting about our wildness not feeling safe as well. So I'm wondering if you can speak a little bit more to that.
Because I think we led on that from that of like finding this peace, and we have that peace within us. But something that I realized through my own journey and through kind of when I went off to do that, go find myself, and went to India a good few times, I realized through my journey, and it was actually more so the past 5-6 years ago, that I could feel that I was suppressing a lot to find peace. And again, trying to find that peace, I wasn't allowing myself to move through potentially what was actually really showing up for me. And I speak on this wildness and I speak on rage a lot. And I notice with women, again, we have these two sides where women either can access their rage really quickly, women literally cannot access their rage at all. Like, it's so scary to even go there. And again, it all comes from our experiences when we were younger. And when I allow or hold a space for women to start to access this wildness, I can see either women will go there straight away. And in a way, sometimes it's like, it's so big and so loud. And I think it's really beautiful, but also it's like, because I've given them a space for that to be expressed. Or sometimes, and then I can see in that same space where that can feel also triggering for another woman, because she's like, I feel like I can't access this. And there is this dance. And I do really feel like we need to be able to access it. Ones that can access it super, super strong, we have to start to learn to be kind of more conscious and responsible for that anger and the rage that does move through us. And because we can project it so easily out into the world, so easily, but it holds so much power. I actually find the more we can access our rage, it holds so much power. And it always reminds me of Dragon Mother energy. And it really makes me think of this reclamation of, I'm standing anchored in my no. And even though I know that my no is going to probably trigger a lot of other people around me, which will also then trigger my own inner people pleaser and trying to form and to stand so truth. And this is where this piece of, like, you know, women speaking their truth, it's not that straightforward. It's so held in our bodies somatically that we will either freeze. There's like fear there to speak to, and even to activate and use your voice in your anger is so hard, because we've learned how to just suppress and shut down. Or, you know, we've been so, if we've accessed it really easily, we could project, and then we've been shut down for using that anger, being told that we're the angry woman, and she needs to calm down, because we've never been taught how to actually use it to really cut through the noise. And then at the same time, we have women that can't access that. And actually what we're seeing in women is so many women are actually suffering from things like autoimmune diseases and so many other things from that suppression. So we need our rage, and we need to be able to access our wild feminine. But at the same time, I can see the paradox again. We're bringing in the paradox again of how much we need it, but how scary it is for our whole system to go there.
Yeah, I love that. And we're seeing like a theme essentially arise, like the things that we need the most, aka the reclamation of our power and wildness, are the things that we kind of also fear the most. And therefore, this brings me back to the importance of that kind of somatic kind of nervous system healing part. So I wonder if we can go back to that actually. And kind of we hear a lot about kind of somatic work, and that's kind of everywhere, isn't it? We're like, we hear like, oh, do some somatic work. It's like, okay, what does that mean to you? I guess, what do we really mean by somatic work? What is it, and how does it look, and what does it feel like?
Yeah. I think we're hearing that as a buzzword, of course, like everything. And I think, you know, double-edged sword always when something becomes a buzzword, because it's becoming accessible. Then you'll also see, as anything, because of the way that humans are in the psychological parts of like, oh, I'm going to jump on this and I'm going to use that, and then obviously you'll see that there's spaces that aren't held.
I love that, and I love that you name that, because I think one of the things I love about you particularly is that the work that you're doing is deep. It is kind of grounded in what I would say is true healing, although, you know, true can mean many things to different people, but it's kind of like grounded in almost like the universal principles that are kind of similar to the way I work. And I think there's a lot of people out there innocently doing what we've been conditioned to do, which is like quick fix marketing. Okay, we're going to do somatic work, and it's just these 3 steps, and that's it, done. There you go, off you go, healed. And I know that's not what you do, so that's why I'm interested to hear what you've got to say.
And I love that you see that with me, because it's definitely a hurdle to go through. You are marketing yourself in this crazy world. I mean, soma means body, and I see people placing that word somatic just because they're doing some sort of body work.
Yeah.
Just moving our body is not somatic. Just moving your body is not somatic. It is, for me, it's deeply rooted in the felt sense. It's deeply rooted, again, in the nervous system. And there is such a rewiring that happens when we work somatically. And it's not easy. If anything, somatic work has humbled the hell out of me, because I always moved. I always danced. I suppressed my dance, yes, just through the way that the dance industry is. It can, you know, really tarnish a lot. But I always moved my body. And I think I always had this, well, I'm in my body. I can move my body. I can move my body. And I danced. And then I started to realize, whoa, a lot of my movement was performative. A lot of my movement was performance, and performance was a safety mechanism.
Yeah, suppression. Mm.
And it's just like there's two ends of the spectrum. You either don't move your body and you're not really even feeling, or you've moved your body and you think you're in your body, but you're not. You've just learned how to navigate and move and perform,
Mm.
for me. And for me, something that I know that I see that I do very differently is when I'm guiding people into their bodies and then through different modalities, because there are so many different modalities. This is why, again, that broad word of somatic for me is, it's not just somatic dance. There's so many different tools that we need. And it's actually, we can start to really find that power when we start to, again, coming back into that rewiring and learning what it is that we need. And through these somatic tools, learning what it is that we need. But I also bring in this other piece, which is the body and the mind are two sides of the same coin. And everything that we have witnessed so far, we've got talking therapy, mindset work, beliefs, all of this around the mind. Amazing. And then we have body work, somatic work, which is, again, really important. Now I weave in that whole, bring you into the body using different somatic tools and music. I just want to add, by the way, music for me holds such a key into doing any somatic work because it invokes emotion, energy, emotion. It evokes the energy to move. It allows us to be and to feel. Now, another piece, as I said, is I bring into the thoughting forms, which a lot of the time, sometimes we don't want to look at. And there are blind spots around our thought forms, which means that we can't even see that they're there, of what comes up in the mind, in the psyche, when we start to drop into the body. Now, this is a piece because we start to realize there are so many levels of being in the body.
Yeah.
And that for me has been the most humbling piece, because I can't say I'm just in my body. I notice when I dissociate now. And actually I realize we dissociate a lot. And it's okay. The more that we can see it, we start to realize, oh, okay, I see that again. And actually, if we can hold so much compassion to more of these pieces when we are dissociating, we're seeing these mechanisms that we've taken on, that is the reclamation of our power in itself.
I love that so much. I was joking recently about the music piece because I'm like, well, of course, Aurum loves music. That's one of her. So the queen, the gold archetype. It's like very much moved by music. So I love that. Maybe you're Aurum. As medicine. But yeah, no, I love that. And I love what I'm hearing in that is there's that beautiful kind of interweaving and between like mind and body. And almost like seeing we talked about the survival mind, didn't we? The kind of, or the way that I often define that is like the shadows, the unconscious kind of shadows that are kind of running the show behind the scenes. And what I'm hearing you speak to is like not just working with somatic work and not just working with shadow work or the survival mind and understanding the patterns of the survival mind, but like working with the two in harmony, which very much aligns with my own way of working as well. Does that feel true to you, what I've just kind of named? And is there anything you want to speak to on that?
Like, bang on. And I think I love the fact that you said that that's really alive for you and how you work, because we don't want to be triggered, right? But actually our triggers are such portals.
I call it material for our liberation.
Oh my God, I love that so much. And I think, it kind of leads back into when we just spoke on our wildness can feel like a threat to access. So when we can access again, whether it's feeling like a threat to feel into these ways of being or these somatic tools, is to notice what is coming up. Yes, in the body, because you will notice the somatic charge, the visceral feeling, whether it's a shake, whether it's contraction, whether it's heat, whether it's numbness. This is something that people also don't even speak of. Numbness is a sensation. It's something to actually notice when you start to numb.
I love this.
Yeah, and I think we don't realize that, again, like, numbness is something to be with.
Yeah.
And when we're starting to access into this somatic charge, visceral effects, again, it's so different. It could be even pins and needles. What is the mind also doing? How, like, if we can start to broaden our awareness somatically, and then we can start to see what the psyche is doing, which we bring in this it's more kind of this ontological context of, a lot of the time we can't see how we're viewing the world. And that comes from some of these thought forms that we inherit. And then this links onto some of these thought forms are not even ours. They're thread through our whole ancestral line.
Yeah.
Which is why we end up kind of being in this paradox where we know our power, and what we're alchemizing to access this power, this truth, this knowing, our magic, our wisdom. That's, for me, I don't know whether I answered that. I feel like
No, I love where you went with that, and it kind of opened up this idea. I think one of the things that we often don't realize, perhaps, when we're looking to work with, like, kind of somatic work and create safety, is we think we're looking for the safety. I think you actually said this right at the beginning. But what's actually calling us there is the feeling of unsafety. It's like, that's where the gold is. We kind of want to, well, this is what I'm hearing you say anyway. Tell me if I'm wrong. But what we're actually, when we're listening for the body, we're not listening for, oh, where's the safety? We're listening for, where's the feeling of unsafety, so that I can then cultivate a feeling of safety.
Exactly that. It interlinks with that again, that our triggers are our portals. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to constantly find a way of not feeling this unsafety and finding a way out of it, actually, where the access point is. When this unsafety arises, we actually can alchemize it. Our awareness is our consciousness. Like, our awareness is the medicine.
That's so powerful, because I think, again, going back to the way that quick fix somatic practices are taught, we are looking for the safety. It's like, do this and then you'll feel safe. Whereas what we're talking about is like, where's the access point to the real somatic safety?
100%. It reminds me of that plaster, again, the quick fix. We can do these tools, like, there's nothing wrong with doing a few tools, whether you're doing a bit of tapping, a bit of humming, even just a bit of shaking, to loosen the charge when you're having to do something that you can already feel that unsafety is really taking over your body. So using these somatic tools are really important when we have to sometimes do these things, whether it's speaking on a stage or holding a workshop or even speaking your truth to a family member. We have to sometimes use these tools to create, but it's just like a little plaster. It's a tool, but we're not accessing deeply into the root at all.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, I love where this went.
What do I?
Yeah, I love it. So essentially, we're talking about somatic kind of nervous system healing, the deep work of that, the deep listening to the body and seeing what's coming up for us, and kind of being with all of that, is the reclamation of our wild feminine.
Yeah.
And power.
Yeah. I think it's so nuanced, and this is where this work can feel quite challenging, because we want to conceptually understand everything. We want to logically understand everything. And we know that we cannot think our way out of anything. We cannot understand our way out of anything. This is where, and this for me was a huge piece. I went through, God, so much therapy, and it was really important to be able to see the whys, but then we can't, okay, those are the whys, and it allows us to see things and realize why we are the way that we are, but then it doesn't break any cycles, because
Mm.
again, it's
Yeah.
wired within our nervous system somatically, and
Mm.
we don't realize that we are unconsciously addicted to our own suffering, which sometimes
Yes.
we feel like, huh? And we are, because our own suffering has been so familiar.
Mm. There's that
And that,
book, isn't there, by Carolyn Elliott, about kinky pleasures, which I always think is great for that. I don't know
oh,
if you read
don't
it.
know that.
Oh, Existential Kink, I think it's called.
Oh, I think I have heard of actually that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. It's amazing. So I love that book, because it's all about how we're kind of addicted to, unconsciously addicted to, our kind of trauma patterns and our secret kinks, that we keep reliving. Because I know for me, one of mine, for example, was when I had chronic fatigue, and secret pleasure, or the secret kink that I would get from being so exhausted. And the same when I had a paralyzed face, I would get love. Like, people would be like, "Oh, bless you, I'll do this for you," or like, "Oh yeah, no, you know, you need this." And so I learned, I was conditioned to keep being ill, to keep being, to keep needing support, essentially. And that was, as I started to kind of peel that back, that was one of the things that helped me to heal my paralyzed face. And so we do see very much in that example as well, actually, thinking about it in terms of how the body will hold on to and express those kind of unconscious patterns in that way. I just thought I'd share that whilst it came to my mind. I didn't even realize I was speaking about the body in that example. It's a good
I
one.
think that's a really powerful share, though, because I think even you, this is where our awareness comes in. You even be able to see that pattern, because it's coming back into that paradox, right? That paradox that you feel like, well, I'm stuck in this looping paradox where I can see I'm unconsciously kind of, in a way, when there's something, I don't want to say wrong, but there's something that needs attention, where I'm not fully in a place where I'm either sick, or there's something that I'm battling with. And I'm there, oh, that's where I receive love. So then you end up unconsciously generating and maybe even staying in these stuck states.
Yeah.
But your awareness to that and seeing that, oh my, which can actually feel quite confronting, right? When you see
Yeah,
it. It can feel
definitely.
so confronting to start with. And a lot of the time we don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
Thinking, wow, I've actually been unconsciously generating that.
Mm.
But holding that with so much compassion, because that was a younger part of you that
Yes.
earned that unconsciously.
And
And
that's
that,
so vital.
yeah. And then while you seeing it, it dissolved.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
But if
And
you,
interestingly, that was an aurum, a bit of alchemy. So I love it. We're sticking with the aurum theme. So yeah, very much that kind of reclamation of our power, because it takes a lot of power, like you say, to even just be able to go there. And I think that's kind of what I'm hearing here, is like the invitation is to start to look at all the things that we hold in our bodies that maybe we haven't been aware of. And I'm wondering, there's a question that comes up in that, is that how do we start to notice that that's what we're doing? Like, how does it show up in the body that the secret witch might recognize? Do you have kind of any sense of, like, almost like the symptoms of things being calling us for our attention to look at?
100% for me, it's self-sabotage for me. Procrastination, and there was one more, but for some reason it's just gone out of my head. Oh, resentment. Now, I'm saying these three because our patterns will show up everywhere. And the more that we can see these patterns happen in our life, there is always, as well, within the psyche, a hidden saying or meaning in how we view the world. And there is a sensation in the body too, but sometimes it's really hard to actually tune in somatically, unless sometimes you're held in a space, because this is what I've noticed through doing this somatic work sometimes. And this is where healing happens as a collective. And I think it's really beautiful that we are all mirrors. And even when you opened up the show, like, about we heal as mirrors to one another. But I know, for instance, I've not been able to access certain things somatically without being energetically held in the space. My mind will deem it as a threat to even go there.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense.
So this is why I feel like the piece between body and mind are really, really important. And coming back actually into using our activations, using our triggers of that unsafety or whatever is coming up. It can be shame, fear, guilt, anger, or like something that comes up that we're activated is always coming from a perceived threat of the mind that is literally viewing your present as the past. And when we can use that, that is where we start to realize, oh, okay, that's, I've self-sabotaged doing this. And then we usually validate our own self-sabotage rather than using it. What have I blocked flow? Because self-sabotage is just you blocking yourself, getting in your own way, blocking life, blocking flow, not allowing yourself to be in your truth. Because there is a safety, it's a mechanism, but it's so mechanical. We try to fix again self-sabotage through trying to do different things.
Yeah.
Self-sabotage will jump in, like we got to see it when it happens and then tell ourselves the truth. When that happens, for me, that's really important. I know self-sabotage for me is a huge one because I have a story that's in my subconscious that I'm never going to get what I need. There is not enough out there. I'm too much and I'm also not enough. And my self-sabotage will sometimes jump in to shut things down because it will feed that story of who I was in order to survive.
Yeah.
So I can see it. When I start to look at that, I can see it everywhere. In every scenario. And then you're like, oh my God, it's everywhere. But that awareness actually liberates us. And then we start to realize that's not mine. It's not just mine. That meaning in life, again, it's my mum's, it's my grandmum's, it's in the whole line of my parents, as I'm sure something that you picked up from your mechanism in that, like, this is how I'm going to receive love. It's not even just yours. You inherited it.
Yeah.
For me, it's not super direct, straight answer. I think the more we can tell ourselves the truth in how our repeating patterns are showing up in so many different ways, and bring that to somatic awareness. I love to make words up.
Link it up. Yeah.
I know. And then the hidden parts of what have you made that mean about you? Internalized blame, for instance, coming back into that thing of the power. We're so scared of our power. And then I've internalized blame so much in my journey. It was so easy to turn in on myself.
Yeah.
So easy. And in a way, it was like I would enjoy it.
Yeah, it's very
crazy.
Aurum.
Yeah.
Very Aurum. That's really one of the questions that comes up in response to that is like how, I guess, because I think it could be helpful to feel into the body. And I don't know whether you've got a way of doing this, but like how can women begin to tell the difference between, because you mentioned like a trauma response versus our authentic truth. And I think there's quite a lot of nuance in that, which does often require that holding. But is there kind of one kind of simple way that women can begin to discern between the two, I guess?
It's a practice, and to actually do it regularly, which is something that we can see our avoidance in.
Yeah.
To be with your experience. Something that I noticed throughout my years of going through and learning lots of kind of, for instance, ancient beautiful practices, one of them being a lot of yoga. I realized through meditation I was disassociating. I wasn't in my body. I was trying to get somewhere. And so I would say, because again, there's so many different tools, but one huge one for me is to allow yourself to not feel that you are doing something, but to close down your eyes, to let your belly be soft. This is something that I say to women all the time, because even just that unconsciously we're holding around the belly, and to just let yourself be breathed, and just really let yourself be in your experience, and really notice how much energy that you are using to just not just be. And can you tune into whatever your experience is and notice how familiar it is? And can you just be there? And can you notice what you need? And also, if, as I even say that, maybe something comes up even around that. It's the most simplest thing.
That's gorgeous.
And I can give so many others, but for me, that's one of the most important things. And can you make your hands on you, but not to feel like you need to get rid of anything? Can you just be with whatever your experience is? And I'll add another piece, without the need to fix it, to change it, or to manage it.
Yes. That's so vital.
Just be.
Yeah. I love that. What comes to me there is this sense of like just loving presence with whatever is arising. And I think one of the things when we start to first think, okay, I'm going to differentiate between what's trauma and what's real, is like we almost diminish the fact that the trauma once was real, and that's why we're reliving it. So I think it's almost like we need to welcome all our experience before doing anything, because we're straight into fixing. Like that's how we've been conditioned in our culture. So I love what you're sharing there. It's just like, can we just be present? Can we just be present with what's coming up for us and be open and curious about what's coming up for us?
Trauma has such a, I think, that word so many people are also even scared of. And I can see why, because it's an invitation to feel, and there's nothing wrong with our trauma.
Yeah.
And even though I know that that's for some people that have been through very traumatic experiences, can feel like, whoa, you know, but there is actually, when we can start to really use it to alchemize it to gold. Our trauma is the more that we can feel into it and access it and really see that it's there to be alchemized. We can't ignore it.
Yeah.
We actually are, so again, already so much more liberated. But I also understand it's not that straightforward for everyone. But actually, if we can nurture that trauma and realize that, you know, none of any of this was anyone's fault, but we can nurture it and we can see it and we can hold it and we can be compassionate with it, and we can use it as such a way of like coming back into our bodies, that's when alchemy really happens. I think it's just again, we live in this society where it's like, again, that word trauma is everywhere. But it's probably the most important piece for the evolution of humans. For us to nurture it and be with it.
I absolutely love what you said there about collecting the gold, because again, it's coming back to that gold archetype. But that is where the power is. That is where it's actually where our safety is. Like coming back to, cultivating safety. If we can be courageous enough, I think it's like, and I get it, because like I remember, how much courage it took for me to start to look there. And it is terrifying. And I guess it'd be helpful to know what you'd say to the secret witch who is terrified. But I think you summed it up beautifully, that there are costs. Like there are costs to our bodies, costs to, lots of different ways to not looking there. I mean, what I'm hearing from your story is that led you to feeling suicidal. And so there are so many costs to not looking there. And I think the question I always come back to is like, what's the bigger cost? Like the fear, or the kind of the going in and or staying with it as it is, I guess, as well. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that feels really beautiful.
Yeah, and I want to add actually even to the resignation, because it's something that I realized was a massive piece, even when I felt like I'd done loads of healing.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Oh,
mean-
I've been there. I've completed it. Like, what are you talking about?
What's the more you do, the more humble like you are. It's actually that piece, when I've gone through, another scenario that life has wanted to thrown at me, that piece, and I remember I wanted to shame myself for it. It was like it was still there. It just got a little bit louder of that deep resignation.
Mm.
And I can, because it's a thought form, it's something again around like how I view the world. And I think when we can start to see these parts of ourselves wanting to be loved and held, and actually when I was going through like another maybe depressive state where I could feel that deep resignation to life, now when I can see that come up, I'm like, okay, what do I need? This is calling me in somewhere. What am I not doing? Or where is there sometimes, again, when I've said resentment to something, and then sometimes in when I'm feeling resentment, I might feel resignation too. And it's because there's somewhere where I'm getting in my own way, where I'm not creating or doing the things that fill me up. And that's why when we can use these parts when we're feeling low and down, okay, where am I not finding space for myself? Where am I not nurturing myself? Where am I self-sabotaging? Where am I not speaking my truth? Where am I not allowing myself to be expressed? All of them. This is like, that's why I think we're so scared of looking at the dark parts of ourselves, but that's where the healing happens. That's where the liberation happens. So I think it's not to be scared of these shadow forms, these parts of ourselves. Actually, they show us the way home, deeply into our truth.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Oh, I love that. I love that. And it just feels like we've gone full circle and come back to, yeah, that's gorgeous. Thank you so much. Is there anything that we haven't spoken about that you would love to share before we complete? Because it feels like we're kind of coming up to time, and just such a beautiful full circle moment. But is there anything we've missed, or one thing that you would love the Secret Witch to know?
I think we're living in very powerful times right now. I think we are being invited to alchemize even more. And I really want to, I think, stress again that alchemy is not something scary. Our trauma is not something scary. I think this human experience, everyone is going through something. To be human is not a straightforward thing. I think also when you are deeply connected and quite deeply spiritual, it's so much easier to bypass this human experience.
Yeah.
And to feel like you need to kind of, in a way, I say, go home. Actually, home is in the body. And I feel like, if anything, we are living in times right now, to alchemize is to be in the body. And it's not scary, and to really noticing how much you want your either giving your power away unconsciously and see it with compassion, or how easily you are being distracted from yourself. And the more that you're looking outside of yourself, the more disempowered you will feel. Discernment for me is a huge word, and I think discernment is something that we are really being called to at the moment, and it can only be felt through, again, coming back into the body, and that you have actually all of the power, and that every single being, because I feel like, especially with women, this is something that I've noticed again through spaces, or we still hold this like comparison wound and the savior wound and the martyr wound. I even got into this work myself to save everyone else, because it also deflected from me looking deep in within me, even though I thought that I was. But on that journey of me healing myself, I share this wisdom, but I also realize that I still hold this wound within me. But we all hold such a unique essence and resonance. And I think that's really hard for us to comprehend, because we live in this world of like, we need to do it like this and we need to do it like that. And to be unique is also a threat. But actually, it's to your power. And actually, every single one of us has such a unique gift. And can we trust in that more? And can we allow ourselves to see each other's gifts for what they are and then trust in our own? And I think in that, we start to evolve, and collectively we start to shift.
I love that so much. I love where this went. It went in completely unexpected direction. It's like, oh, you're all right, okay. I think we're gonna have to retitle the episode.
I like them.
I know we were going to talk about womb and we haven't spoken about that, so I'm wondering whether there's a part 2. The reason why that's interesting to me is Orum's a womb remedy, so I'm also loving that thread as well. So maybe if you'll come back, we can do a womb episode.
Would absolutely love to. I think again, the womb is another portal into alchemizing our ancestral wounds and actually reclaiming and healing that witch wound.
Yeah, I love it. We'll do a part 2, everybody. So right then, Mona. Well, thank you so much. What I would love for you to share as well, because I know that you've created a whole body of work, which is absolutely amazing. So I'd love for you to share more on where people can find you and what you're working on and all of that juicy stuff.
God, this past year has been the most powerful and also scary in me releasing my body of work. And this is also something that I'm really passionate about sharing. So I have Sambada, which is what you mentioned right at the beginning and how we met. You came to my Sambada class. I have created a whole practice, which is a structure, but I also give you the different tools that you don't have to actually teach it as a structure. It is to empower you to take these tools in order for you to, it's always going to start with yourself, but in order for you to hold deeply transformative, trauma-informed space for other people to come home to being, and to using music, to using different modalities to move through whatever, again, coming back to that, just allowing yourself to be, and that every day is a different day. We are not separate from the earth. We are not separate from this world. So of course we're cyclical. So I hold a 4-month container in that. You can find me on my website. I have an Untamed membership, which is again about untamed women reclaiming their power through whatever they want
There's
to be.
the animal.
Yeah,
There's the animal. We've got several remedies in this.
yeah. Yeah, it's like this untamedness that we have. Again, this, we've tamed ourselves, but also finding this beautiful balance of finding our voice, our power, our truth, our gifts, putting our work out there, and how much alchemy there is in that. And then I have somatic practices and sharing circles. And then I'm also literally just launched a little short 5-week kind of thing, again, reclamation on the alchemy of being seen and speaking our truth and trusting in what it is our gift and our essence is. And actually, the more we start to stand in our power, that, there's parts of us that will get louder. And of course, because this is the dance of being human in this time, of what we're kind of unconsciously battling. I think this is, those are the kind of 3 things that I do. You can find me on my website, which is my name, or on my Instagram. And I'm always putting little things out there to empower and to liberate and to teach and share.
Gorgeous. I'm going to include all of that in the show notes for you as well. I've just realised I put this on because I was like, oh, it's a wild animal. And then I realised it's gold as well. So I'm like, this is perfect.
Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, when dressed in the theme. And that was
exactly.
Good eye.
I love it. Gorgeous. Well, thank you so much, my love. And hopefully we will co-create a part 2.
Excited. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me.
I absolutely love Sara. Here are my key takeaways. Our deepest resignation and even our I don't want to be here moments are portals, the very places that reveal the gold we are here to reclaim. Somatic safety isn't found by chasing calm. It's created by turning inward towards the sensations we fear, the contractions, the shakes, the numbness. The survival mind isn't truth. It is inherited conditioning, ancestral memory, and old protection strategies that once saved us and now sabotage us. Wild feminine emotion, especially rage, is power, a sacred force that protects heartbreak, cuts through illusion, and awakens authentic boundaries. Suppression shows up in patterns: self-sabotage, procrastination, resentment, people-pleasing, each one a doorway into deeper liberation. Coming home to the body is coming home to our power. When we stop outsourcing safety and learn to be with what arises, we alchemize trauma into truth and return to our gold.